Good morning. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's edition of Monday Morning Coffee with Christine. Read, watch, listen. I am here again today in Pop 54 Art Gallery, Chris Henderson's beautifully curated place of amazing artists here in Valley View Mall in Dallas. Highly recommend that you stop by if you get a chance. And as you can see, we're doing things a little bit differently today. I have a guest. It's my dear friend and the husband of one of my good friends, Cindy Beard. It is Mr. Donald Beard, who happens to be the superintendent of Caprock Canyon State Park in Quitaque, Texas, which happens to be the bison capital of Texas. Good morning, Donald.
Good morning, Christine. Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy to have you here. And you are going to share your favorite book, movie, and piece of music with us,
You
right?
bet. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. So let's start with your book.
Okay. Well, the book I want to share is called Last Stand. It's written by a gentleman named Todd Wilkinson out of Montana. He's a sports writer. And the book is a biography of Ted Turner.
Ted Turner.
The
Awesome.
Ted Turner.
Why do you care about Ted Turner?
Well, he happens to own a lot of bison, and I have a little bit to do with bison, so we have a few things in common. But it's more than just that. It's his views on the environment and what he has done. His track record with the environment. It's pretty amazing stuff.
Like what? Tell me what he's done.
Well, he is currently the second largest landowner in the United States. Owns over 2 million acres, I believe, and 50,000 head of bison. And that sounds like a lot, and it is. But if you go to any of his ranches, you would be surprised at how awesome and pristine they all look. He has put his money where his mouth is, and he is restoring these ranches to make them look as natural as possible. And this book talks a little bit about that, but it tells us this whole story. It's a biography of him. And his view on the environment is you can actually make money and be an environmentalist. And those two
Gotta
things,
love that.
yeah, those two things kind of clash sometimes.
Right.
He kind of coined a term called eco-capitalist, where he talks about the environment, and he talks about how you can make money with it. And he came up with, or I don't think he came up with it, but he uses the triple bottom line principle.
Tell me about that.
It's pretty neat. It's, first of all, is it good for the planet?
Important.
It's important. Second of all, does it make money? If it doesn't make money, you might as well just stop there.
That's important too.
Because everybody's you're in the business to make money. And the third thing is it good for us? Is it good for the people?
Beautiful.
So if you can answer yes to all of those, then that's a sound decision to make moving on in business. That's pretty neat.
Beautiful. And I love that it's a book that I had never heard of for sure, and that probably most of the people watching this haven't heard of.
Right.
And you would highly recommend it.
Yeah, he's not the most well-liked figure.
Sometimes.
He's had a history of being kind of brass about things.
Sometimes.
And maybe he has a few marriages that the public didn't view very well.
Well, let's not go there, people.
But anyway, you got to really admire the man for what he has done for the environment. He really has put his money where his mouth is.
Love that. And I can imagine why you love him so much, because he deals with the bison, which are so near and dear to your heart.
Absolutely.
And mine, because of my exposure through you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And we're going to move on to the movie that you're recommending, which is another really interesting recommendation.
It's another one that I'm sure not too many people have heard of.
I'm sure.
However, it's gotten a lot of press just recently. It's just been released within the last couple of months. And it's not necessarily a movie. It's more of a documentary, but it's not necessarily a documentary either. It's kind of a hybrid. It's kind of both.
I love that. It was
Yeah.
so entertaining. It didn't feel like a documentary at all.
Right. And it's called Unbranded. And it's done by a gentleman named Ben Masters and some of his friends who were graduates at Texas A&M,
Right.
looking for something to do, and they just came up with this great idea. Let's ride the Continental Trail from Mexico to Canada, 3,000 miles.
Isn't that crazy?
And it's absolutely crazy. I sure wouldn't want to do it.
I know, and I love that he got his financing through Kickstarter.
Right,
I love that. So a lot of people got on board to make that happen.
And the other cool thing about what he did is he not only rode it on horseback, but he went out west and adopted some wild Mustangs, trained these wild Mustangs, and then used them on this journey. And he did this, the whole documentary, throughout the documentary is peppered with details, and this is where the documentary part comes in, about the wild horse issue that we're having out in the West, about whether they're overpopulated, whether what we need to do with them. It brings that to light. It's pretty neat.
Right, and there are two really distinct sides of that and really strong opinions.
Right.
And one thing I loved about the movie was that by the end of it, you had gotten the message that there's an issue with our wild mustangs, but you didn't feel hit over the head with it.
Absolutely.
The beautiful vistas that showed so many different parts
Gorgeous.
of the country, and the interactions between human beings put in a position of that kind of isolation with each other. I just thought was beautifully done.
And that's what's so cool about it is a documentary, but yet when you walk away from it, you feel like you've been to
Totally
a
entertained.
movie. You're totally entertained. Yeah.
And one other thing I loved about it that I just have to talk about is the distribution system. It was distributed by a company called Tugg, T-U-G-G, in a really interesting way. They are distributing independent films across America in a really interesting way. If you have an independent film and you want to get it into a major theater, Tugg will help you do that. They will help you schedule and manage your event and sell tickets online. They make it super easy and super simple. And that's how Unbranded ended up opening wide on just like 10,000 people across the country all in one night.
All in one night.
It was very exciting. And you're the one that turned me on to that movie, and I really appreciate it.
You bet.
Great recommendation. Hope you guys go see it. I guess it's on demand now, and it's still definitely worth a watch. And now we're going to move right into your song.
I do have a song, but it's a little bit more than that. But we'll start off with a song.
Okay.
The song is by an artist out of Amarillo. His name is Zac Wilkerson.
So you are doing the Texas thing.
Well, I'm doing the
This whole thing.
it's not quite your high profile stuff you'd find on the shelves in Walmart.
Kind of love that.
But anyway, so Zac Wilkerson is his name. He's out of Amarillo, and the song is called "Love Rescued Me," and it's on an album that he just released this past year. It is just absolutely amazing, absolutely amazing. We have our Bison Festival.
I know.
Yeah.
When I first discovered Zac Wilkerson 2 years ago, it was on a stage at the Bison Festival. And how do you find out more about that, Donald?
BisonFest.com.
Right, that. Yes, BisonFest.com. But when I first saw Zac, I had never heard of him. I had never heard his music. And I was absolutely entranced by his lyrics first, his musicianship second, and that voice. Oh my gosh, it's like the music just comes through him. I cried the first time I heard him play.
And it's funny you say that because with me it's the voice first.
Is that right?
But he's the total package. There's no doubt about
Soul.
it.
Oh.
Absolutely. It's not your production line music. It is from the heart, and you can tell it when he gets up there and sings.
You and I had talked recently about, in fact, it was a whole conversation at the Bison Festival about how lyrics are not lyrics anymore, and it's really cool when somebody comes along and is able to speak to us through the music and the words in a really beautiful way. I love Zac Wilkerson, and he's a good man.
He is a good guy.
Good man.
He is a good guy.
Good family man.
The song "Love Rescued Me" is actually it's a Christian song, but it's kind of like the Unbranded. You're not hit over the head with it. You don't. It takes you 2 or 3 times listening to it to figure out what it is all about. But then you start to listen to it, and the lyrics are just amazing. There's some quotes in there from the Bible, and there's some stuff in there that's Christian based, but it is such a soulful song that it just grabs you and it just pulls you right in. And that's his whole album is like that.
The whole album.
The whole album is like that. It's just amazing.
So you'd recommend just buying the whole damn thing.
I recommend buying anything he makes.
Thank you so much for coming here and for sharing these 3 pieces of kind of obscure art that other people might not have ever come across.
You bet. It was a blast, and it's just this is just a sampling of what's out there. People need to go out and find it on their own. Find what gets them.
I completely agree. That's what Read, Watch, Listen is all about. And thank you all for joining me, and I will see you next week.